Lautrec. So let's dive into a world of imagination and inspiration together. Who is Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec? Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec was a 19th-century French painter, illustrator, and poster artist, known for his atmospheric depiction of the Parisian underworld. Besides his work as an artist, his height, only 152 centimeters, and scandalous behavior in society brought him notoriety. He is one of the most famous post-impressionist painters of the era, whose style was also influenced by Art Nouveau, and the topics he focused on centered around the bohemian life on the streets, in brothels, theaters, and bars in Paris. Although he died young and his whole career lasted less than 20 years, he managed to produce a great number of, for the time, modern, provocative, and decadent images that give us a real picture of what Parisian nightlife was like at the end of the 19th century. The most famous works by Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec are the posters commissioned by the Moulin Rouge Cabaret, including the poster for the performance of Jane Avril, 1893, Divan Japonaise, 1893, and the painting at the Moulin Rouge, 1892–1895. Henri de Toulouse-Lautrec is one of the most famous of the post-impressionist painters, remembered for his beloved compositions of Parisian bohemian bars and nightclubs. Yet, his personal life did not reflect the brilliance of his famed posters, rather, it was short and tragic. He was dealt a bad hand before he was even born. His parents were first cousins, and thus he suffered a number of health issues commonly related to inbreeding. At the age of 13, he broke his right femur, and at 14, he broke his left. Neither healed correctly, likely due to a genetic disorder known as pycnodysostosis, sometimes referred to as Toulouse-Lautrec syndrome. As a result, his legs ceased to grow, leaving him with an adult-sized torso and the legs of an early teenager. Unable to pursue the aristocratic hobbies of other men of his station, Toulouse-Lautrec immersed himself in his art. He became deeply embroiled in the seedier side of the Parisian bohemian culture, spending most of his time in the bars and brothels of Montmartre. He became a legendary alcoholic, to the point where he hollowed out his cane and filled it with liquor to ensure he was never without a drop of alcohol. His lifestyle began to take its toll, eventually resulting in his death at the young age of 36. Portrait of Vincent van Gogh, 1887. Portrait of Vincent van Gogh is an 1887 chalk pastel on cardboard artwork that Toulouse-Lautrec made of his friend Vincent van Gogh. The painting shows Van Gogh in a café with a glass of absinthe. The painting is on view at the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. At the Moulin Rouge, 1892–1895. At the Moulin Rouge is an oil-on-canvas painting painted between 1892 and 1895. In the background, center left, we see a self-portrait of Toulouse-Lautrec in profile. The painting shows a great use of depth. In the right foreground, we see part of the English dancer May Milton, her face glowing with a particular greenish light. At a table in the middle, we see writer Edouard Dujardin, dancer La Macarona, photographer Paul Sicot, photographer Maurice Guibert, and dancer Jane Avril with her flaming red hair. The painting is part of the Helen Birch Bartlett Memorial Collection at the Art Institute of Chicago. Divan Japonaise, 1893–1894. Divan Japonaise is a lithograph poster created in 1893–1894 to advertise a café chantant that was known at the time as Divan Japonaise. The poster depicts three known Montmartre characters, dancer Jane Avril, writer Edouard Dujardin, and the performer Yvette Gilbert. Jane Avril, 1893. Arguably the most iconic of Toulouse-Lautrec's works, his poster Jane Avril from 1893 shows the famous dancer in all her frenetic spirit and exuberance, encapsulating the fin de siècle Parisian nightlife. Avril was a lifelong friend of Toulouse Lautrec's, and commissioned this print to advertise her cabaret show at the Jardin de Paris in 1893. We see her in the middle of performing a can-can kick, one of her signature dance moves.